a half a day's worth, and we found this beautiful big clearing. And the woods were the types of trees are old growth. They were never touched before. I mean, this is these were woods that have essentially never seen humans before. And the trees were huge and beautiful, and of the likes that I've never seen since. But you could get this feeling that this was a magical place, that this place was old and untouched, and something that it's an amazing feeling to see something. And at that age it was very easy to see things that no one had ever seen before. So the clearing, as the students, uh, as the children declared, could not be wasted. So instead of hiking as far as we were going to, we stopped and we settled there, and there were these big beautiful trees with big branches that the kids could climb. And some of the kids even tried to put bedding up in there and try to sleep up there, but ultimately I told them if they fall it out and break their neck, then it's on them. I'm not carrying them back. So they we all settled and we played out in the field and we played in the trees, and the children were throwing sticks and having sword fights with the sticks, and uh, children were running and picking flowers, and just there was so much to do, but there was really nothing there but the woods. And so some of us made the fire and we all set up the camps and picked our spots. And as the sun started to set, they asked me to tell stories, much like I'm doing right now for you. And the talk went up and down, and we laughed and we're eating. And as the night went on, the younger of the children started falling asleep, and others started crawling into bed and listening to the stories. But after a long day of hard playing, you end up falling asleep very easily. And so I'm not really sure when I fell asleep, because I, like them, fell asleep in conversation and in staring at the fire. And um yeah, so it wasn't long, to my knowledge, but it was definitely dark out. And by the time that I woke up, there were already a couple of children awake and looking around, and they heard this sound, and I heard it too. And it was almost like a singing, but it wasn't a singing that we were used to or we had known. It was more of a hum and a high pitched um, melody. And as we looked around, we could not figure out what the sound was or where it was coming from. And we looked around the clearing, and one by one, we all woke up, and we were all kind of, when you hear something and you're not really sure what it was, and you're listening so hard that you don't want to make any sound because you might be talking over it. But eventually you I could hear the children going, "Did you hear that?" And all of us kind of looked and we kind of nodded, and we're like, "Yeah, we heard that." And you're trying to confirm things that in your own mind you're not sure if you really heard, but only by talking to others and seeing that others heard the same thing that you had confirms that what you heard was real, or what you know is real. And so as we're kind of whispering and talking, I hear one of the kids go, "Look!" And across the field, you could see this bright blue light. And at that time, you got to realize the only lights that we ever saw were the sunlight and candles were not that bright. They're nothing compared to what we have today. And this bright light was on the other side of the field in the woods, and it was so bright. It was like if you took the brightest flashlight of today and started shining it from the other side of the woods. That's the intensity that it would was. And it was unlike anything we had ever seen. And we all went dead silent, and then the singing started, the melody started picking up again. And as the light kind of moved from side to side, we could also we figured out that that's where the sound was coming from. And all we could do is stare in silence. I mean, it was the unknown. We didn't know what this was, and we didn't know if we should be scared of it, if we should go closer. We all just froze. And as we did, the light started to move towards us, and you could tell that it was breaking through the trees as the lights stopped being behind and getting shadowed by the trees and started moving out into this field. And the light didn't really get any bigger, which was also very interesting. It stayed the same size, but there was evident that because there wasn't things in front of it, it was moving closer to us. Not to mention the sound was getting louder. And we all just stared. And as it got closer, some of the kids, I felt that I didn't notice it, but the kids were starting to bunch up on me, and like anybody that gets scared, they were moving closer. And I it almost caused me to jump when the first kid uh, touched my shoulder, and I looked to the side and I realized that they were all kind of huddling up on me. And we're all staring at this, and a few of them start whispering, "What is it?" And I couldn't tell them. I had no clue what that was. And it was the unknown, like this thing that was coming towards us. And so I started huddling them and kind of keeping them a little bit closer, and the kids are all leaning forward to see what it was. And the orb started coming right over our heads, and the singing was loud and it was so beautiful. And I'm not going to do this justice, but it was kind of